Okay, so I'm trying to model 4,442. I'm going to model by drawing 4 cubes. How many squares do I need to draw? 4 squares to represent my 4 flats, which each are 100. Just squeeze it in as best you can. How do I represent 40? How many rods do I need?
4.
I need 4 rods. And then what about units?
2.
2 units. So your picture should look similar to this. I'm not the best artist. You might be better than me, so yours might look better than mine, which is fine. But it should look something similar to that, okay? All right, looking ahead is the next part, and it says, write the value of each digit. Use the pattern to help you write the value of the digit 1. Okay, so we're going to write the value of each digit. What does that mean? Anybody know what that means to write the value of each digit? Kinda. What number? Like if I have 1 tens, what would I, like in the thousands period, if I'm looking at this number, I'm in the thousands period and I have 1 tens in the thousands period. What is the value of that 1? I have 1 10,000. So what would I write for the number?
10,000?
Yeah, just 10,000, exactly. Okay, but in the next part, I have 4 in the 1,000s place. So what would I write for the number?
4,000.
4,000. Y'all starting to see?
Yeah.
These are the values. Okay, in the ones period, I now have a 4 in the hundreds place, so it's going to look like this. And then I have 4 tens, which is 40, and 2 ones, which is 2. What is another word for this? You just did it at the very end of lesson 1.1 practice. Do you remember what it's called? It's not standard form. It's not word form. It's expanded form. Good. Yes. Okay, moving on to the back side. Okay, so this is a completed example kind of what we just did. You have standard form, which is like the basic number. You have word form where you spell it out. When you're writing a number in word form, it is helpful to say the number, like read it out loud to yourself and then spell it out. Okay, I'm gonna show some grace and not count you off if you spell a number wrong, but I do expect you to fix it. So when we're going over it together, I expect it to be corrected because I want to make sure that you are making every effort to spell things right. Expanded form. Okay, this is a little bit different. Do you notice anything different about that expanded form versus what we just did? Kingston, what do you notice?
They're multiplying.
They're multiplying something. So this is actually kind of what we call expanded notation. Expanded notation is when you show the value in that place times what the place actually is. So for example, I'm looking at the millions period here. I have 3 million, so I want to show 3 times 1 million. That's how I would get that value, okay? 4 times 100,000 is how I get the value. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
You can see it both ways, and you need to be familiar with both ways because you're going to see it interchangeably. Okay, yes?
Why would you put it like that? Wouldn't it?
So the reason we do it, that's a great question. Okay, did y'all hear? Caden said, why would you do it like that? Okay, that's a great question. Whenever you start adding in decimals, it's not, we want to show how to get the value of the decimals. So for example, if I had 0.3 after that number, that would be like 3/10. So I would show 3 times 1/10 as a fraction. So it's whenever you start adding in those decimals, you want to show how you get those values instead of just writing 0.3. Okay. Write the number in 2 other forms. All right, so I've got my basic number, standard form. How do I read that number? Somebody raise your hand and tell me. How would I say that number? Jeb?
78,300.
Perfect. So we're going to just write it. We're going to write exactly what he just said. He said 78,000. I need a comma. And then 300. Okay, now I'm going to practice writing it in the way that they did above in my example for expanded form. So I'm going to show how I get the value of the 7. 7 is in what place? That's the value of it, but what place is the 7 in? what place? Is it in the hundreds place?
10,000.
10,000s place. So I'm going to show 7 times 10,000 plus. What would I write for the next number? Kingston.
8.
8 times
8,000.
1,000. Because I want to show how I get 8,000, right? Plus. The 3 is in the hundreds place. If I'm writing, you're writing. 3 times 100. Perfect. And that's all I have to do because the rest are just zeros. Okay, moving to the next one. This time I'm given the number in word form. So I just need to say it out loud. 350,058. What does that look like in standard form? 350,000. What would that look like? Oops. 350,000 should look like this. 350,000. Notice where my comma is. Comma. And then 58. So what do I write after the comma? 0 and then 58. Expanded form. The 3 is in what place? If you forget, you have a place value chart up above. 100,000s. Good. So it's going to be 3 times 100,000 plus 5 times 10,000. I don't need to do anything for the zeros because that's kind of just, we're just wasting lead. It's not necessary. You don't need to write it. So the next number that I'm going to write is 5 times what?
10,000.
Careful. We already did that one. Careful. I did this number. I did this number. I don't have anything in the thousands place. I don't have anything in the hundreds place. So 5 times 10 plus 8. Okay. And then number 3. Standard form. This time I'm condensing everything. It's got it all expanded out for me. So I'm going to just write the values of each digit. So looking at expanded form, I have 6 times 100,000. What would be my first digit that I write? 6. And then 8 times 1,000, not 10,000. Do I have any 10,000s? No, so I put a 0 after that 6, and then an 8, and then a comma. Then 4 times 100 would be a 4 in the hundreds place. 5 times 10 means there's a 5 in the tens place, and 9 times 1, oops, I forgot to put that up here, means that there's a 9 in the ones place. Okay, now we're going to read that number. Raise your hand if you can read that number. Fala.
600,459.
Close. So first, just read this number right here. Pretend like the 459 is not there. How would you just read that number? 608, and now you say 1,000. So do it one more time.
608,459.
Beautiful. That was so good. So 608. Make sure you don't write and there. And is reserved for the decimal when we introduce decimals. This is just going to say 608,000. Comma. 459. Okay, any questions on the 3 forms? Okay. The next page is where we start our in-class practice. Get out of here. Okay, we've got time. Cool. Okay, there you go. Sorry. Okay, our in-class practice. Do I need to go back? All right, we're going to start our in-class practice. So, oh, we already did start it on the previous page. Cool. All right, we're going to continue our in-class practice on the next page. Okay, so number 4 says compare the values of the 3s and the number 5,338. So I have 2 3s in that number, and I want to compare the values. So which 3 is bigger? Do you want me to call on you? No? Okay. Kingston. The 3 in the hundreds place. So we're going to be comparing it like this. We're going to say 300 is how many times as great as the other 3, which is representing 30? 10 times as great. Good. Okay. The next one says compare the values of the 6's in the number 466,900. So I have, again, times as great. So I'm going to start with the bigger number. Fallon, what would I write first? 60,000. Very good. Is how many times as great? Jason, 10 times as great as 6,000. Okay, y'all try number 6 and then we'll check it together. And you can check with your group too. So do it, check it, and then. Okay, teal table, what did you guys put for number 6 in the first box? Anybody from teal can tell me. 70,000. Okay, yellow table, what did you guys put in the next box?
10.
10 times as great as. Blue table, what'd y'all put in that last box?
We put
7,000. 7,000. Okay, the next one we're comparing using those symbols that we should be familiar with. The first one is less than, the second one is greater than or equal to. Okay, number 7. Looking at each place value. I have an 8 in the thousands place, but looking at the hundreds place, this number is bigger. So how am I going to draw my symbol? The mouth of it will be open to, Jeb, which number?
8,460.
Yes, so how do I read this number sentence? This is a number sentence. How do I read that, Caden?
8,460 is greater than 8,046.
Good. Now let's read left to right. How would I read it left to right, Ace?
8,046 is less than 8,460.
Yes, perfect. We always want to make sure we're reading left to right. There's nothing wrong with starting and saying which one's bigger, but we want to train ourselves to read left to right because that's how we read words typically. So we kind of do the same thing in math. Okay, number 8, 28,517. We're comparing it to 28,509. How am I going to answer this one? Jason.
28,517 is greater than 28,509.
Perfect. Okay, you guys go ahead and answer number 9. Check with each other. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready. You all agree? Okay, number 9. Let's hear from purple table. Somebody read that number and then tell me the sentence.
5,854,331 is greater than 5,854,200.
Perfect. Great job. Okay, number 10, we are matching the digit 4 in the number with its value. So we have 4 different numbers. We're going to match them. So the first one is my little red box, 378,421. What is the value of the 4? What do I draw it to? What color fish, everybody?
400.
Green fish. Good. Okay, the orange number, the 4 is in what place? The thousands. So I draw it to what color fish? The orange, because it's 4,000. The next one is in the 10,000s place. So what color fish do I draw it to?
40,000.
The 40,000. And then the last one should be 40, and it is. Okay, I'm going to give you, we're going to skip this word search. You can come back to it, but I want to get through the rest of the math, and then y'all can do the word search until it's time to go, because we're down to the last 10 minutes. Okay, we are almost done, and then you guys can do the word search till it's time to go. All right, number 12. Number 12 says compare the values of the 7s and Mars's average distance from the sun. So if you look above, you see that table, and it breaks down all of the information about 6 of our planets. So it's giving you an example. It's comparing the 3s in Jupiter, and it's showing that 3 million is 100 times greater the value of the 3 in the 10,000s place. Remember, when it's 100 times greater, you're adding how many zeros? How many zeros are in 100? 2. So you're adding how many zeros? 2 when it's 100 times greater. Okay, let's look at number 12. We're comparing the 7s. So we're looking at the number in Mars. And I want to find my 7s. So my 7s are here and here. Okay. I want to write my statement to match the example above. So the value, instead of saying the value of the 3, I'm going to say the value of the 7. Uh-oh. Come back. The value of the 7 in the, what is the first 7 in the place of? The first 7 is in what place, Claire? The thousands place. So the value of the 7 in the thousands place is how many times is great? How many times? Fala?
10.
Yep. Is 10 times as great as the value, as the value of the 7 in the, what place is that one in? You can say it if you know it. Hundreds place, good. So the value of the 7 in the thousands place is 10 times as great as the value of the 7 in the hundreds place. Okay, the next one is talking about Saturn, and we're comparing the 4s. So looking at Saturn, I have 4s in 2 different places. I want you to try, just talk about it with your table, and then we'll come up with our sentence. So figure out how many times greater it is, and then we'll figure out how to write that. All right, comparing the values of the 4s and Saturn's average distance. I have a 4 in the 100,000s place, and then I have another 4 in the hundreds place. Bless you. How far away, or how far apart are they? How many places apart are they? Is it 2 or is it 3?
2.
Did I move 2 places to get there, or did I move 3 places to get there? I started here at the 4. Did I move 1, 2? Or did I go 1, 2, 3?
3.
3. What number has 3 zeros in it? 1,000. So this one's going to say the value, bless you, the value of the 4 in the 100,000s place is 1,000 times greater than the 4 in the hundreds place. Okay. I'm going to just bump that up just a little bit there so it's still there. We're going to finish up with this last one. It says, an organization wants to donate all the money raised through fundraisers and raffles to a local charity. We're going to just complete the check. So checks are kind of starting to fade away a little bit with all the digital payments, but I still have to write checks now and then because some people still want checks. So learning how to do that is still pretty important, okay? So what you would do is you have to know how to write it out in words, because on a check you have to spell out the whatever the amount is. So it's wanting to know all of the money for fundraisers and raffles. So what would I have to do with the amounts first? I would have to add them together. So the first thing I need to do is I need to add these two amounts together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Put plus, starting with the ones place, working my way left, carrying when I need to. Okay, we should have ended up with $231,105. So what I'll do is I will write that number right here in standard form, 231,105. And then on the line below is where you always write it out in words. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. We'll write it in words together, and this will be the last thing that we do. So 200, and you usually write in cursive on a check. You should write in cursive. You should write in cursive. So 200, just start writing. If you started in print, start the rest of it in cursive. 231, comma, 105. And if you want to put the date and sign your name, you can, but you don't have to. That's all we're going to have time for today. It is time to rotate. So as soon as you finish writing that down, close your book. You're going to put it back on your cubby shelf.